Welcome students. This session is for BA second year English Literature paper 2nd, that is prose and fiction. In this session we'll continue with the story A Rose for Emily by William Faulkner. And before we continue with the text of the story, let's discuss the story a little bit. Death hangs over A Rose for Emily from the narrator's mention of Emily's death at the beginning of the story to the description of Emily's death-haunted life to the foundering of tradition in the face of modern changes. So this is something which this story talks about. Death. We have seen Emily's death, from which the story starts. We have seen the death of Emily's father and the results and people's reaction to it. And we have also seen that how tradition is somewhere decaying and there are so many modern changes coming around Emily house. In every case, death prevails, whether it's a death of human being or it's a death of tradition. Death is the main motive of this story. It prevails over every attempt to master it. Emily, a fixture in community, gives in to death slowly. She is not prepared for any sort of a change. So she gives into this death very slowly. She is not able to adapt herself to the modern changes. The narrator compares her to a drowned woman, a bloated and pale figure left too long in the water. Uh, Narrator describes Emily in this fashion that she looks like a bloated woman and pale figure because she does not go anywhere outside and she is not at all in connection with the outside world. In the same description, he refers a small spare skeleton. She is practically dead on her feet. So there is no signs of life about Emily's character. She is living, but she is practically dead on her feet. Emily stands as an emblem of Old South, a grand lady whose respectability and charm rapidly declined through the years. So she is a symbol of that tradition, of that respectable aristocracy. The charm of Emily is becoming less through the years, much like the outdated sensibilities the Griersons represent. Whatever thought process or whatever principles the Grierson family represents, those sensibilities, those principles, they are soon becoming outdated in the outside world. The death of the old social order will prevail, despite many townspeople attempts to stay true to the old ways. So there are people who attempt to stay true to the old ways. There are people who support Miss Emily, the old people of the town who support Miss Emily, but we know that the old social order is now coming to an end. Emily attempts to exert power over death by denying the fact of death itself. We see that how she says to people for 3 days that her father is not dead, even after he has died, and she keeps a dead body in her house for 3 days. Uh, Her bizarre relationship to the dead bodies of the men she has loved, her necrophilia, is revealed first when her father dies. So her love for dead bodies, and she is not able to part with the people whom she loves. So this feeling we are able to see right from the time when her father dies. Unable to admit that he has died, Emily clings to the controlling paternal figure whose denial and control became the only yet extreme form of love she knew. So whatever she knew in her life was her father, her father's love, and she was in complete control of her father, and the denial also because her father did not find anyone suitable for her to marry. So we come to know that she tries to cling to that love of towards her father, the thing that she only knew in her life. She gives up his body only reluctantly. And after 3 days of keeping dead body of her dead father in her house, in a very reluctant manner, in a very disagreeable manner, she is able to give that body to the people to get it buried. Now let's continue with the text. As we know that the story has 5 parts, this is the beginning of third part. She was sick for a long time. When we saw her again, her hair was cut short, making her look like a girl with a vague resemblance to those angels in colored church windows, sort of tragic and serene. So, after her father's death, Emily was sick for a long time, but when people caught her glimpse, uh, they saw that she had cut her hair and she was looking like a girl, and you can resemble her to the angels drawn in the colored church windows. She looked quite tragic and serious. The town had just let the contracts of paving the sidewalks, and the summer after father's death, they began the work. Now, again, a change comes. Town is planning for paving the sidewalks, and a contract is given for that. The construction company came with niggers and mules and machinery, and foreman named Homer Barron, a Yankee, big, dark, ready man with big voice and eyes lighter than his face. So here we see that this character, Homer Barron, is introduced to us. He came in with this construction company with the charge of a foreman, and this construction company came with niggers and mules and machinery to do this construction in this town. Little boys would follow in group to hear him cuss the niggers. So when he was getting the work done, and at times he used to abuse and curse these niggers, these labor people, the young little boys, they used to follow him just in order to have some sort of an entertainment from his cussings. And the niggers singing in time to rise and fall of pigs. And they were able to see that when niggers, at the time of working, they used to sing songs in order to give some push to the rise and fall of pigs. Pretty soon he knew everybody in town. Homer Barron was quite a social person. Very soon everybody knew him and he knew everybody in the town. Whenever you heard a lot of laughing anywhere about the square, Homer Barron would be in the center of the group. So he loved to talk and chatter and laugh among the people. And anywhere in the town, if you hear that people are laughing and they are enjoying, Barron or Homer Barron would be centered in the group. Presently, we began to see him and Miss Emily on Sunday afternoon, driving in a yellow wheeled buggy and the matched team of bays from the livery stable. So very soon, this Homer Barron and Emily, they become friends, and people start seeing them on Sunday afternoons driving in yellow buggy with the matched teams of horses from the livery stable, from this special stable, distinctive stable. At first, we were glad that Miss Emily could have an interest, because ladies all said, of course, a Grierson would not think seriously of a northerner, a day laborer. So, in the beginning, people were quite interested in the story of Miss Emily and Homer Barron, but they also had an opinion that a Grierson, that is, a person from the aristocratic family, is not going to be very serious in relationship with a day laborer. But there were still others, older people, who said that even grief could not cause a real lady to forget noblesse oblige. And older people said that no matter that Emily is all alone and she is sad because she has lost her father, but she is not going to forget that she comes from a noble family, so she is not going to have a serious relationship with Homer Barron. Without calling it a noblesse oblige, they said, poor Emily, her kinsfolk should come to her. So, this burden of coming from a noble family is put on Miss Emily, and without talking about this noble birth more, they say that the kinsfolk, that is, the other family members, the other relatives of Emily, should come and seek her and talk to her. She had some kin in Alabama, but years ago her father had fallen out with them over the estate of old Lady White, the crazy woman, and there was no communication between the two families. So they have some sort of information about relatives of Emily, and they know that when her father was alive, he had some sort of a property dispute with the other relatives and about the property of old Lady White, that is their aunt. And now these two families, they were not at all in talking terms. They had not even been represented at the funeral. So even nobody came from that family even to represent at Emily's father's funeral. And as soon as old people said, poor Emily, the whispering began. When old people started thinking about Emily as poor Emily when they were sympathizing with her, again a whisper started. Do you suppose it's really so? Now people are gossiping that is it really? Is it real? They said to one another, of course it is. What else could? And there are dots, there are dashes. So they are guessing about the relationship of Emily and Homer Baron. This behind their hands, rustling of crane silk and satin behind jalousies, closed upon the Sunday afternoon as a thin, swift clop, clop, clop of the match team passed. Poor Emily. So some these people they are doing this gossip behind the curtains of these windows, the curtains which are made of silk and satin, and this gossip started when each Sunday Emily and and Baron, that is Homer Baron, when they drove in that yellow buggy, and soon they were able to hear this clop 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 of this match team, that is the team of horses, and they started gossiping about her, and the old people called her poor Emily. She carried her head high enough, even when we believed that she was fallen. Emily carried that dignity of coming from a high family, and her head was high enough, even when people thought that she was fallen from her nobleness, that she is dating a person who is a laborer. It was as if she demanded more than ever the recognition of her dignity as a last Grierson. And she had that seriousness with her and that dignity with her that she demanded that people should respect because she is the last of that aristocratic family Grierson. As if it had wanted that touch of earthiness to reaffirm her imperviousness. It was like it was a gesture from Emily's part that she was still impenetrable and nobody can just easily lay their hand on her. Like when she bought that rat poison, the arsenic. So nobody was given that much of permission, and nobody had the dare to question Emily, whatever she did, when she was uh, going in that yellow buggy with Homer Baron. At that time, also, she looked quite impenetrable. And here also, when she comes to a shop to buy rat poison, that is the arsenic, even the shopkeeper is not able to question why she wants that. That was over a year after they had begun to say poor Emily. So after when people were sympathizing towards her, it happened. This incident of rat poison happened a year after, and while the two female cousins were visiting her. At that time, even two female cousins also visited Miss Emily. I want some poison, she said to the druggist. So, as we know, that story keeps on moving back and forward. This is again one incident that this narrator is telling us that she was so impenetrable. People were not at all confident, or they feared to ask any question from Miss Emily. That even when she went to a druggist's shop and she said that I want some poison, she was over 30 then, still a slight woman, though thinner than usual, with cold, haughty black eyes in the face of flesh, of which was strained across the temples and about the eye sockets as you imagine lighthouse keeper's face ought to look. Now here he describes the looks and the face of Miss Emily. And with this look, she said, I want some poison, she said. Yes, Miss Emily, what kind? For rats and such, I reckon. So druggist asks her what sort of a poison she wants. I want the best you have. I don't care what kind. So Miss Emily asks for the best poison. The druggist names several. They'll kill anything up to an elephant, but what you want is, he says that I have different types of poison. They can kill even an elephant. What you want is arsenic, Miss Emily said. Is that a good one? Is arsenic? Yes, ma'am, but what you want? She says, I want arsenic. The druggist looked down at her. She looked back at him, wrecked. The druggist was quite surprised that she's asking for a poison, which is also quite fatal. She just looks back at him, erect, her face like a strained flag. Why, of course, the druggist said. But as we know that she's coming from an aristocratic family and the whole town does not have that dare to ask any question to her, So druggist very soon surrenders, and he says that if that's what you want, but the law requires you to tell what are you going to use it for. He just asks a very customary question that the law is that if anyone purchases arsenic, one has to tell why he's going to use this poison and for what purpose he's going to use it. Miss Emily just stared at him. So instead of giving any answer that what is the purpose of purchasing that poison, she just stares at that shopkeeper, at the druggist. Her head tilted back in order to look him eye for eye. She just looks at him in his eye until he looked away and went and got the arsenic and wrapped it up. So the uh, druggist, he is not able to ask any more question to Emily, and he just goes inside, wraps up this arsenic, and gives it to her. The Negro delivery boy brought her the package. The druggist didn't come back. The druggist didn't have the dare to face Emily again because he has asked her a question, and out of Miss Emily's family's principles and stature, nobody was in that position to ask them anything. So he did not have that dare, that courage to come back to Miss Emily. So if his the packet which Miss Emily has demanded is given to her by a new Negro delivery boy. When she opened the package at home, there was written on the box, under skull and bones for rats. So when Miss Emily opens up that packet at her home, uh, on that poison, it's written for rats. And there is a symbol of danger, that is of skull and bones, is made on that, that it is quite dangerous to consume. We'll continue with the story in my next session. Thank you.